Yo, we're going to be diving into the decks that have the high potential this week. We're going a little off meta so that way you can keep this game fresh and having fun with it while also keeping your opponent surprised and yourself in the game. So we're starting things off with a little spice here. I don't know how much you can say Mega Kangaskhan is off meta, but this deck is running just two of them, 2 Mantikes, 1 Pichu, and 1 Keldeo. Keldeo does 110 damage, but the Pokemon can't use its attack basically next turn. And so with the 1 retreat cost, you can then go into your Mega Kangaskhan or just take the hit if you need to as well. 100 HP, look at what's in front of you and then continue to attack that way. You have your 2 Professors, your 2 Ilmas because you have your Rampers and your Mantike and your Pichu. Copycat, Cyrus, Red, Geo, Pokeball, Lucky Ice Pop, Heavy Helmet for your Mega Kanga, and that starting place to ensure that HP goes up to 200, y'all. So really here, name of the game is ramp up your Mega Kangaskhan and just start attacking from there through a Red, through a Geo, Ilma it away, get yourself either Keldeo up there to start swinging or just building up your energy once again through your Rampers. What's really nice is that Keldeo can take care of any annoyances that you need to, Hem or Choreo, I'm looking at you, but this is a really strong way of just being able to do that. You have a clear answer here for your Oricorio matchups, and then you have really fast ways of getting into your Mega Kangaskhan to attack, reset, and then attack again. So that's lovely, right? I would love to see that. And then we go into this other variation of Mega Kangaskhan that I've been really enjoying. It is like another all-in Mega Kangaskhan, but it is the fire type way here. And this card right here behind me is Starting Plains, by the way, just so you can see it, and it's a ratio of 1. Now what this deck does, it just tries to ramp up your Mega Kangaskhan's attack power. So you have Oricorio here, Inspiring Dance, which means that your opponent's, your Pokemon does plus 20 to your opponent's active Pokemon. So Inspiring Dance can go from 10 to 30, or it can go from 10 to Mega Kangaskhan hitting up next 100 and then 60, and then you can tack on a Geo or a Red on top of that. So now if you tack on a Red on top of that, you are dealing 120 and then you're dealing 80, so 200 damage in 1 turn. That is absolutely absurd when you think about that combo power that is in there. To be able to do that, Magby, again, ramping these things up really quickly. Same thing with your Kamala here. You want to make sure that you put the energy on the bench rather than in the active spot, because if it's in the active spot, it falls asleep. So powering it up at a bench, it doesn't have to worry about that comatose ability. So you're pretty good here. Kamala, you can also save if it's like in the active spot and you're just putting energy up here. Once it goes down, you can always Ilma it away as well too. You're running 2 of them in there and just really trying to finish your things off here with your Mega Kangaskhan. So this all in all is all about that firepower, getting aggressive, building up those attacks. Like even Oricorio going from Oricorio to Kamala, that's still 90 damage before Giovanni, before Red. 90 damage to a Sabrina or to a Cyrus is still very strong. So I look forward to seeing if this deck can make it out here, because it was definitely a lot of fun with playing around and really engaging in the math and ensuring an even higher level of knockouts that we weren't able to get to before. Then we switch into some Donphan EX and Lucario, which got a massive boost here. You're running just these 8 Pokemon, but you're running double Sightseer. Sightseer allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put all stage 1 Pokemon into from there into your hand, and you shuffle the cards back up here. This just gets you, between Sightseer and Copycat, you're essentially finding all of your cards that you need, and that is really one of the things that's really cool here. Running these stage 1s only means that out of your deck, you have 4 opportunities, to draw that Donphan to draw that Lucario to get that extra, start getting that damage with your Gigantic Press, or even just getting that Fighting Coach ability up here and start doing that extra plus 20 damage as well too. And then with the training area, being allowed to attack for that plus 10 more, having one Lucario out with the training area, doing plus 30. With both, you're doing plus 50. So now this goes for 1 energy to 100 damage, or 3 energy for 160 damage, which is like really good. So this is awesome, really cool to see. You're a fighting type, so again, this 30 reckless damage or a reckless charge with the Lucario out takes out your opposing Oricorios, so there's nothing really to worry about there. But I really do like the synergy of the training area, the sightseers, the stage 1s only for this deck, so that way you can really not ramp per se, because you're not ramping energy, but to get to these cards way more consistently, so that way you can start doing that damage immediately instead of trying to wait for your card to appear. Then we have Chandelure Meowth, which has been really fun. I've tried out this exact list on the channel as well too, so just for your folks to know what's behind the camera, we have a giant cape here. But what's nice about this is that Meowth not only is your draw engine to ensure that you are getting into your lines for Chandelure that much faster, but it's also drawing into your supporters that much faster. And so what I really felt like what was happening when we were playing this deck is that like you get to do both of these, really, is evolve into a new line, or rare candy into your stage 2, and play a supporter at the same time. We are doing that and hitting a copycat. Like we're drawing a card, like we have the card, we hit the copycat. We're drawing a card, we have the Lucia. We have the card, we got the Sabrina. We got the card. You know, like you're just finding ways, because all of these cards are very proactive, and you get to be a tank. So no matter if they hit you with 20 damage or 350, like you can't. If you hit heads, nothing happens to you, and so you being able to buy turns to even build up your Chandelure, to build up playing these trainers and hitting that, just allows you to go from 60. That turn they just wasted, now you get to go to 80. If they wasted another turn, you get to go to 100 before you even start attacking with your Chandelure. That's just what's really nice about it, dude, to be able to build your discard pile, because your Meowth is taking up in the front, really makes this deck shine. And it really gives you in a good spot where you can then go into your Chandelure and just start swinging and feeling really good about it. We then see this amalgamation of cards where it is Leafeon EX with your baby Leafeon. You have your Lilligant, one Teomass Ogerpon, and one Celebi. So Leafeon is your grass energy accelerant. What's nice about the Lilligant here is that it boosts up your HP by plus 20. So having like Leafeon, 2 Lilligants up here goes from 140 to 180. You put a leaf cape on that, and that's 210. So that's a lot of HP. Your Teomass gets to 200 HP. That's still a lot. So you have your energy ramp, you have your chip damage, your chip shots here, and then you have your Teomass Ogerpon that can also finish things off with the 120. So by the time that you're attacking with the 70, you can put the energy that you're getting from Forest Breath onto your Teomass, so that way your Teomass can have that 5 energy requirement that it needs to hit with 120 between you and your active Pokemon. But in the most that you'll ever need is 4, because your opponent definitely will always have to have at least 1. And why not? If you're playing grass, throw in the Celebi, throw in that Devolver, hit them with the red, take out that basic, and secure the point. And now they're stuck with a card that they can't use in their hand. So this is interesting. I do see where they're going with it. You have your Celebi, not Celebi, Oricorio answer here with your Leafeon. You have one Sightseer for Leafeon EX or for your Lilligant. You have a Leaf Cape here. I'd be interested to see if you would want Quick Grow Extract instead of the Sightseer, but the Sightseer can pull 2 of them, you know, or maybe 3 of them, depending on like how lucky you can get here. So I can see the pros and cons to both. Get the immediate exchange, but you're only doing it for one Pokemon, or, you know, roll the dice and see if you can get more than one, which obviously is the net positive from there. But I see the vision with this deck here. and boosting up the HP with the Leaf Cape to really make sure that you are getting tons of hits here is pretty cool. And we'll continue on to our next deck, which again is trying to take advantage of that. So we have Shuckle EX, which is like really funny here. And some Greninja chip shots in the back. So with starting planes, your Shuckle goes to 140 and is taking minus 20 energy, minus 20 damage from attacks, and then you can possibly do 60 damage per turn. Your Kartana obviously goes up. This Leaf Cape, if you put it on your Shuckle, so you're going up to 170, that's taking minus 20. That's a strong tank. At that point, that is a strong tank. So, and being able to possibly do 60 damage per turn is pretty nice. You have your healing in here as well, and then you ensure that you don't sleep or get poisoned or anything like that with the teal mass that's there. So between the minus 20 and between the Greninjas being able to stay in the back and take away your opponent's health while you're hitting with a Shuckle, I again see the vision here. It's so funny to see that Shuckle could be commanding into a deck, but for the fact that like this deck, you know, like this is the definition of catching opponents off guard. Your opponent has no idea what you're trying to do and or accomplish with this, but you're essentially using your tank, building up your teal mass, chipping it away, and so that way your teal mass can then come in if this goes down, or you just like retreat to come have your teal mask go in, and then you just start swinging away. Once your teal mask is ready to go, Shuckle has done its job, and then you can start swinging for 120, 140, 160 possibly each turn, and at that point the game's kind of done. We then go into another cook here, which is like really, again, folks are getting so creative. We have Meloetta, Mismagius, Mewtwo EX within DDD EX. So your Meloetta, just drawing you the cards. You're just netting the cards here. And what you're essentially trying to do is just get your Mismagius up for stored power. You get 2 energy finally on there. You attack, and then what stored power does is move all the energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So you have your Mewtwo out there. So you are powering up Mismagius, using the stored power to power up your Mewtwo EX. So your psychic energy go there. Now you have 2. You then Fantina, energy attach, attack for 60. Goes back to Mewtwo. Now it has 4. You Fantina, attack. Now it has 6. Now you can side drive for 2 turns in a row. That's 300 damage. The free retreat of Peculiar Plaza to ensure that you keep everything in there. You have your Indeedee EX to ensure that you have the health up that you need with the Giant Cape. So that's 110 with infinite heals that's on there, and you're getting the card, right? Like you're getting these cards consistently because Meloetta's in that active spot. So this is fun, being able to maneuver energy in a way that's efficient, right? Like the energy is never lost here, and it's going to your main defender here, or you can even throw a little bit on Indeedee EX to put the pressure on them if they're trying to ramp up, and then you can also sweep off here because Psychic can infinitely scale depending on if your opponent is trying to play around it or not, but you always have a good answer if they're going into those high energy requirements. Then we see Gourgeist and Chandelure, and this one I'm also very excited about because Chandelure requires you to have supporters in your discard pile so that you can do 20 more damage for it. So if I use Sabrina, I go from 60 to 80. If I use Cyrus, I go from that 80 to 100. Copycat, then I go 100 to 120. Now typically you can only play one supporter at a time, so you're essentially only getting 20 plus 20 each turn. But enter Gourgeist here. Gourgeist deals 1 energy for 70, but you need to discard a card from your hand. If you can't, the attack does nothing. But since we're running a slew of trainers, you're going to have, or supporters, excuse me, you're going to have supporters in your hand. So now you can Copycat, discard Alicia, or Alicia discard a Copycat, or Alicia discard a red because they are only playing non-EXs, or discard a Professor's Research because you have the cards that you need in your hand. You know, like you get to do that. So now instead of scaling only plus 20 per turn, you're scaling plus 40 per turn. So now 2 turns of Gourgeist attacking means your Chandelure is attacking for 140. Did I do that math right? I did, because that's 40 and 40. That's 80 plus 60, 140 damage. That's incredible. That would typically take you 4 turns to do, and now you're only doing it in 2 because you're using your supporter and discarding one at the same time. That scales very fast, and then that spells trouble for your opponent, especially in a deck where you are running yourself no EXs in here either. So not only are they getting chip damage, you're scaling up your Chandelure, then you can send in your Chandelure that has even more HP to continue to attack there. You don't even necessarily need to get to, you know, if you want to make it a 3rd turn, if they're leaving your Gourgeist out there, get to 180, get to 220. If they're not taking care of the Pokemon in front of you, scale it up. You don't need your supporters anymore, because at that point, ain't nothing living 180 or 200 damage worth of attack. You don't need your Red or your Sabrina at that point anymore, because not only do I have to go through, like, you know, the 160 or the 180 worth of damage from one Chandelure, they have to do it again while trying to take it out itself with having 140 HP. We then move to the Solgaleo EX Alolan Muck build, which is like pretty cool. This deck is interesting because Alolan Muck's ability means basic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponents, have no abilities. So in DDD, Darkrai, Giratina, Oricorio, Suicune, who else? None of those work. You still have, like, Hydreigon works because that's a stage 2, right? But like the other ones, the ones that I named, the ones that you'll see a lot of those times, they don't work anymore. And what's really nice about pairing Alolan Muck with Solgaleo is because Rising Road means that you can switch your Pokemon with the active spot here. So you can ensure that your Solgaleo, like, you leave your Alolan Muck up front. If you start off with Grimer, cool, that's fine. If you start off with Cosmog, teleport to the back and be okay. And now you're Rising Road, then you switch out. So you don't have to worry about the leaf. You don't have to worry about anything else like that. This double retreat cost or triple retreat cost doesn't matter anymore in the face of Rising Road. And because the Alolan Muck is now there, you just say bye-bye Oricorio, right? Like, you can attack. You're attacking for that 120. You're losing your health away, but that's why you have your Lucky Pops. That's why you have your Lily. You have your Metacore barrier to ensure that you're taking minus 50 damage. This is a really sustained a set here, right? Like, between the heals and the defensiveness, like, that's really strong in of itself. So there are good opportunities to kind of just say, hey, I'm gonna solo this deck with my Solgaleo and just let that be that. And if they try to tingle you out the way, you can always teleport into an Alolan Grimer and just attack in 2 turns for 40 and hope that you can deal with it after that. And then last but not least, we have a Vivillon Rillaboom deck here. So this one is pretty fun, I think, because Vivillon is 2 energy, and it's a mini Venusaur. The reason why or Mega Venusaur, the reason why I say this is Vivid Powder poisons and sleeps your opponent's Pokemon for 60 damage, but we've seen sometimes your opponents don't flip, and like that is a big deal. Like, you want to be in that position. Your Rillaboom here does 120 for 4 energy, but the reason why, like, this is still okay to play with, because once during your turn you flip a coin, if heads, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So you get to say, yoink, I'ma take you, you beat here, now you get to be poisoned, sleeped, or I'm taking you for 120. This doesn't need to be in the active spot in order for you to use this ability, which is pretty sweet. The card that's behind me, in case y'all are wondering, is Leaf Cape, and you're only running 1. The Pichu is here just to easily ramp up into your Rillaboom, or even ramp up into your Vivillon, right? Like, this is colorless colors and 1 grass energy, so being able to dedicate, you know, and just cut the amount of time that you need to attack is always helpful, right? Like, Pichu into Scatterbug means Vivillon is rare candy, go, retreat, and now you're attacking. Rillaboom, instead of needing 4 energy, you only need 3. So that I do like the 1 of in here, because you don't necessarily need to rely on it, but it is just kind of nice to have from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our off-meta decks for the week. Which one piques your your interest the most. And if there is something that you've been enjoying but you haven't seen it on here, let me know that down below in the comments section so that way we can all learn from you. As always, y'all, if you enjoy the vibes of this channel, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, click the notification bell button so that you not miss out on a thing. Catch you on the next one. Peace.